Well, welcome everyone. This is Jim Peacock with Peak Careers Consulting, and this is an interview that we're going to talk about career credentials, what you might consider, why you might consider a credential, and we'll talk a little bit about how we have decided. Anyway, this is a follow-up to a blog I wrote recently, and you can find that blog on a bit.ly if you just put in Peak Careers 86. We'll take you there. So a little bit about Peak Careers. I started this teaching the CDF class. It's now called Facilitating Career Development. It actually technically always was called Facilitating Career Development. And I've been teaching that class since 2000. And this is a course that's required for two certifications, the GCDF and also the new CCSP. And we'll be talking about a little bit about both of those today. I also have a monthly newsletter for career practitioners. I do individual career counseling. I have workshops for career practitioners on a wide variety of topics. My most popular are using card sorts in practice, understanding transitions, happenstance, and LinkedIn. One day a week I go to Hard at Work Associates in Portland, Maine, which is a career counseling and outplacement center. I also have online seminars, which are a little different, and Mary actually took the Boomer online seminar recently. They're 4 and 5 week long. They're discussion based, and that's what's so different about these online seminars. They're not independent studies. You're in there with other career practitioners, other like-minded people, and we have a variety of different topics. And you go to my website, you can learn more about those. So today we have John Long and Mary Cotter, who have agreed to have this interview and talk about this topic. John's a professional coach, a university instructor specializing in career and life coaching, as well as the administration and interpretation of career and personality assessments. Mary is recently retired after a 30-year career as a school counselor, school administrator, vocational educator, and is a certified rehabilitation counselor. And she's now developing a private practice as a career counselor focused on students and young adults with chronic illness and learning disabilities, ADHD, etc. Their complete bios will be on the YouTube channel. So what I'd like to do, without further ado, here is to start our interview. And the first question I have, one thing I want to mention is, I am indeed on the National Career Development Association CCSP Advisory Council. And that is one of the certifications we'll speak about. This video is not in any official capacity. These are my personal opinions and are really driven from a lot of the people who have asked me, what is this new credential? What are they? Can you talk to me a little bit about it? And I've always, because I've taught the CDF class, I've always been talking about GCDF, and now I'm talking more about CCSP, but this, my blog and this interview are really my personal opinions. Actually, why don't we start with John? And John has a similar statement, I think he can tell about. But why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, or actually we've kind of introduced you in your full bios on there, John, but why do you think it's important to have career credentials, and maybe talk about your capacity as well?
Well, and again, any of the information that I'm sharing today is certainly from a personal standpoint, based on my own experience and my own perspectives, not in any official capacity. I describe myself as a career transition survivor, and back in 2004, when I had decided to leave healthcare management as the career that I had chosen and cultivated for many years, I had decided on the area of career development as my new career path, taking my background in HR and training and transitioning that over into career development. And at the time, the only credential that I really could find that I felt had some good weight to it was the GCDF credential. And at that point, that's when I decided to take the Facilitating Career Development program and then pursue that GCDF certification. So I've maintained that certification now in my second round of 5-year certification with the GCDF. And since that point, over the past 12 years of my private practice in career coaching, I've added additional credentials and certifications as I have kind of added to my toolkit as a coach and career development provider.
Mhm. Great. And Mary, well, and actually a little bit. So why do you think it's so important to have credentials, John?
Well, I think it's important for the public to know that there are individuals out there that can assist them with their career development needs, and that these individuals have formal training, and that training and experience is recognized through a variety of professional associations that offer credentials. So, kind of that old adage, buyer beware. We have a responsibility as career professionals to fully disclose our backgrounds and our training, our experience, our educational credentials, our professional credentials, so that the consumer that we serve, the students that we serve, can make an informed choice.
Yeah, great. All right, thank you. Mary, your thoughts on this?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think credentialing is extremely important because it helps the consumer understand who they're dealing with. Because there are so many occupations out there where one can just hang up a shingle and you really don't know what their background is. My background has always been in education. I started out as a vocational home economics teacher way back when. And I've always been interested in helping kids figure out what it is they want to do with the rest of their lives. So I've added a lot of educational certifications to my background in school counseling and administration, and even a cooperative work experience diversified occupation instructor. But nobody, the public doesn't know that. The public doesn't see that. Yes, that certified me to work in public education, but there was nothing that really branded me or identified me as somebody who was a specialist in careers. When I received my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, I had the option to sit for the CRC exam, the Certified Rehab Counselor exam. And it was a lengthy 8-hour exam. It really tested my knowledge of vocational assessment, assisting people with disabilities, the labor market, job analysis, a lot of really intense career-related information. I had that. So I had that background as a CRC. That credential branded me that way. But in public education, nobody cared. Nobody really was interested in that. So as I chugged along through my school counseling career and thought about retirement, thought about doing my next act, what did I want to do in my life after public education, I thought about the background and credentials that I already had and realized that I wasn't able to be licensed as a therapist in the state of Connecticut with the background that I had, but I had all sorts of knowledge that could help people. And where could I brand that? And that was with NCDA. I've always been familiar with their materials and their websites and, the different opportunities that NCDA had offered. And I saw the GCDF certification. I actually attempted it about 10 years ago, but my life got interrupted and I wasn't able to complete the coursework to get the certification. So this time recently, I think it was last fall, I completed the coursework, got the GCDA or GCDF certification, and thought, okay, this at least is a credential that the public can recognize as somebody with background that relates to careers. But what I wasn't happy about was that the GCDF certificate was the same for anybody with any level of education, whether you had a master's degree or 20 years experience working in a career center, you had the same credential. And the only thing that separated those of us with that credential was the amount of experience or years on the job that we had. But again, the public didn't recognize that. They didn't see that. So when the new credential came out, the new set of credentials, I was really excited to see that there was one that was focused on master's level practitioners. And so I I did get that one too. I transferred my GCDF into a CCSP credential.
Right.
And I also took the 4 case studies, did the assessment for the certified career counselor credential as well.
Yeah, just so, and so if people currently hold the GCDF certification, there is about till December 2018, you have an opportunity to actually just pay for the fee, and you can transfer that you had to have an additional reference or something like that, but
not even that.
No, we didn't have that. So
nope.
Basically, you can transfer there. It's an easy transfer to hold the CCSP. You don't have to do the assessment.
Yeah, it's one of the fast track options that's offered for current GCDF holders.
Right. And so anyone new to the field or applying to the assessments will have to take some assessments, and there's a process. And I'm going to direct you to that website. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that today. I really want to keep this conversation still broader about why do you think it's important. And I feel like we've done that. And then now talk a little bit more about how do you decide on choosing a credential. And Mary kind of started talking a little bit about how she chose the GCDF. And maybe some thoughts there, Mary. Finish up on why you chose the CCC. Is it?
Yes, yeah, the Certified Career Counselor credential. That was a new one that NCDA offered, and the reason I liked that is because it was only for master's level counselors, people with master's degrees in counseling, and my degree as a rehabilitation counselor certainly qualified me to do the assessment and get that credential. So I did the assessment the very first day that it was available on, I think it was August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the first ones to take it. I didn't know what to expect. And when I got through the process of the online assessment, wondered, well, am I going to pass it or what's going to happen? I didn't have any guarantees. But fortunately, I did pass it. And I think that's an important credential for me because it's simple. It's Certified Career Counselor. When you say that, you know what you're talking about. You know, the public understands that.
Yeah.
Certified Career Services Provider, well, yeah, that's simple too. But Certified Career Counselor speaks to the fact that I do have a counseling degree.
Right. I thought I feel like they really did a nice job at naming these credentials. That's
Yes.
one thing I feel like they did. John, how did you decide on the credentials? You talked about how you chose the GCDF credential early on, but you're holding a different credential now.
Yeah, I mean, again, over the course of 12 years in practice and private practice, as I have attained new skills, different levels of experience and kind of strengths in the career development field, I've pursued additional credentials. So from the initial GCDF, I added on the Myers-Briggs certification, the Strong Interest Inventory certification. From there, I added on the Certified Professional Career Coach from the Resume Writing Association. And then when CCE started offering the Board Certified Coach certification, that was another credential that I felt was a strong representation of individuals from the coaching perspective, and that allowed me to inform the public that I had that level of certification in professional coaching. So and so I've maintained those credentials over these years. And then when NCDA decided to formally step into the credentialing realm and offer these 5 new credentials as of August 1st of this year, I felt, really happy to be able to pursue the Certified Master of Career Services as well as the Certified Career Services Provider. So those are 2 new credentials that are competency-based, I had to apply, I had to upload all my materials, but then I had to also, for the Certified Master of Career Services, complete 4 case studies where I was required to demonstrate my mastery of a variety of competencies.
Right.
And no other credential up to that point that I had pursued had actually tested me in that fashion, actually asked me to convey my knowledge, my understanding with that competency assessment. So I felt that there was some nice rigor behind these credentials.
Yeah, and I think that that is NCDA should be applauded for that. I mean, it's really they are looking at competency based, and are actually also a friend of mine applied for one of these certifications, and I needed to be a reference for him. I mean, so they're actually asking for people to be references, and then they look at these case studies, and the case studies are done as blind reviews, and so people they're not looking at whether it's you're not an English teacher looking at these case studies. You have like 45 minutes, I think, to complete each case study, I think is what the time frame is. But they're really looking for content. Do you understand, if it's a question on theory, then do you understand what the theories are that might be out there and which ones you would rely upon to deal with this particular case study? And so I think the fact that they're looking at competency based is really so important. So
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, we've had a variety of certification and licensing exams that are out there, and the traditional model, the psychometric model that's been used, is essentially the multiple choice exam. And where that definitely fits in the realm of credentialing, I really liked that NCDA stepped away from that kind of memorization and regurgitation model and moved to a competency model where the individual is required to demonstrate their knowledge, their grasp, their use of career development resources, theories, and techniques.
And really, the other sort of side result of this is in some ways, you're actually measuring the quality of the instruction of the facilitating career development curriculum.
Absolutely.
If the instructor is not covering the material to the depth and the breadth that needs to be done, people are not going to be able to pass those case studies. And so it's really it's an elevation of the entire program is really what I believe it is.
Mm-hmm. When I took the CCC assessment, I did the 4 case studies too. I don't know how they differ from the CCSP assessment, but I had to dig deep into my knowledge of career theory. That was the only area that I felt like, I wish I had been aware that they were going to assess me on that, because I understood working with different populations and how I would handle and choose assessments. But when it came to the career theory questions, it's like, oh, Lord, okay, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Mary, did you have a chance to review the FAQs on the NCDA website?
No, I didn't. I took the assessment the very first day it was available. And after I did it, I emailed Marianne Powell. And I just had some suggestions and some thoughts and just things I wanted to share about my experience going through the process. And she was happy that I sent her that information, because I thought it would be helpful just to have a rubric, just to have a list, 4 different points. This is what we're going to ask you so that you're not surprised. I was surprised by the career theory questions is what it came down to.
Well, I think what is important is that individuals that want to pursue these credentials with NCDA recognize that there is quite a bit of information on the NCDA website at this point, and it was there prior to the launch as well.
Okay.
And it'll continue to be updated, but each of the credentials has a listing of FAQs that are available for interested parties, and it covers quite a spectrum of questions and topics.
Yeah, and
Good to know.
I'm going to show people. I'm not going to go to the website, but I will give people the actual website that they can go to continue to learn more. Any other thoughts from either of you on the credentials in general, or one in particular?
No, I'm really pleased with the process. At first, when I heard about it, I thought, why are they doing something different? Why change the GCDF into 4 or 5 new credentials? Why the need for that? And having gone through that process now with actually the 3 credentials, and the GCDF, the CCSP, and the CCC, I understand why it's important to have the distinctions. And I'm pleased that they do distinguish those of us in the field that way.
Well, it's very much alphabet soup that we're dealing with here. So, Jim, maybe you want to mention the distinction between GCDF and CCSP, the fact that GCDF is not NCDA.
Yeah, and bottom line is the facilitating career development curriculum is basically the same for either. You have to do that class, that curriculum, and you can go to either the GCDF through which is through the Center for Credentialing and Education, or you can go through the Certified Career Service Provider through the National Career Development. It's still the same curriculum, but they are different agencies. And in my blog, I kind of talk more about it. But by affiliating with the actual professional organization, which is very typical, really, in professional organizations, the benefit of the CCSP is that it's going to be associated to our profession. And it's a great place to start. GCDF isn't going away. I mean, the Center for Credentialing and Education is actually growing the GCDF internationally.
Yeah, and several years ago, I was on a task force with NCDA where we were considering the same question of what are the existing credentials and what should the existing credentials be? Should there be an evolution? And at the time, we were trying to deal with this confusion that existed among the public and among our own membership at NCDA. People did not understand that the GCDF was not an NCDA credential.
Right.
That the only influence we had on that credential at NCDA was that we provided one of the curriculums that was accepted. NCDA certainly provides a very robust curriculum. But, and I actually developed what we called the CDF, GCDF roadmap that was published on the NCDE website for several years. And it tried to clarify for the public and for CDF students this actual path that you start with the curriculum and then you choose the credential through CCE, the Center for Credentialing and Education. So now I think it's important for people to understand that, like you said, Jim, CCE remains a robust organization, and they will continue to offer the GCDF and the BCC. Thank goodness, those are credentials that I hold, and I appreciate those. But now my premier organization, NCDA, the one that I've been affiliated with since 2004, now offers their own credentials, and they control the content. They will update the information. They will provide continuing education. So I'm really happy that it's kind of one-stop shopping now, and that quality is there with the organization that that I really appreciate.
Yeah. Well, great.
I think that's important, what you just said, that NCDA owns the credential and will provide the continuing education. I see the parallel with the Commission on Rehab Counseling certification. They've always owned the credential. Up until recently, they haven't provided the recertification modules. They've allowed practitioners to go out and get the CEUs that they've needed through outside providers who were approved by them. But I think it's important for the national organizations to own their own credential and to control the quality of the CEUs or the continuing education that the practitioner needs to participate in to maintain it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just like to wrap up a little bit here. So a couple of things that we talked about is really a lot of this is the efforts of this is really to help consumers, the clients.
Yes.
Yes.
So that they know what kind of training, what kind of background do people have before they hire them.
Yeah, if someone goes to my website and they look at my bio, they have full disclosure, full transparency in terms of what my education is, what my majors were for my degrees, the credentials that I hold, and I want people to compare that against individuals who simply hang a shingle.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, you think about contractors, healthcare providers. I mean, credentials actually mean something, you know.
They do.
And if we really want to elevate the career profession, I think it's really important that we model this behavior. And
And we've been in quite a bit of a gray zone too, because licensed professional counselors have had, have had their credentials. There has been the CRC, which Mary mentioned, the Certified Rehabilitation Counselor. School counseling has a certification. Alcohol rehab counseling has a certification, but career counseling never really had anything official beyond the NCCC, which was dropped and kind of put on the shelf in the late 1990s. So it's time for NCDA to step in and fill this void with some really strong credentials that they control, and I'm just really pleased to see it.
Yeah. So if you want to find more information about all these credentials and the process and frequently asked questions, it's ncda.org. If you're looking for some more information, I would like to read my blog on this same topic where I go into more detail. You can just use the bit.ly, and it's just Peak Careers 86. If you'd like to sign up for my newsletters, which I write for career practitioners, you can just go to my website. And of course, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, or Instagram. I just started Instagram recently. If you just search for Peak Careers, you will find me. So I would just like to say thank you very much to Mary and John for taking some time out of your day. And I really appreciate your opinions on this topic. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you, John. Nice to talk with you.
Good to talk with you too. Thanks so much, Jim.
You bet.